Hey, what's up, everybody? On today's episode of the Messengers podcast, we are doing a deep dive on search engine optimization. We have some really good tips and tricks about how to optimize your own website for organic search. We even go into how Google's paid search algorithm works and the differences between the paid engine and the organic engine. Some really good tips in here, so stay tuned and thanks for listening. All right, welcome everybody to the Messengers podcast. I am Chris Searles. Joining me here today is, as always, the illustrious Rob Seifert. You don't want to say hi?
Not today.
No, Rob's moody today. He's been overworked for the past few weeks and
Just a little sleepy.
Today we're talking all things search engine optimization, or SEO, for anybody that likes the buzzword terminology. Really what we found is a lot of people tend to have kind of a skewed view of what SEO really is, what it entails, and how it works. Some of that's built from years of the ability to do things that Google actively didn't want people to be able to do, and being able to get away with it. And now, a lot of those kind of tricks are not really options anymore. They don't really work. And it's kind of a struggle to get people to understand the realities of SEO. One of the biggest issues I always see is one of the biggest spam email, usually it's email or, forms filled out on your website if you don't have great spam controls and stuff like that in there that we see all the time. It's somebody that says, I'm going to get you to the top of Google and, come call us and we'll get you there. And one of the first things I always tell customers is anybody that tells you, guarantees that they're going to get you a specific search result, that they're going to get you on the first page of Google, is flat out lying to you, because you can't guarantee that. There's no way.
Right.
It's obviously a nice goal, and it's something that
Sure.
When we work on search optimization campaigns for anybody, that's what we were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it also depends highly on what kind of keywords you're targeting and what searches you want to show up on the first page for. Are you a local business, or are you a national company, or are you worldwide? Where is that person when they're actually searching for you? All those things really kind of come into play when we start talking about what kind of realistic results you're going to see, what kind of budget you're going to need to put into it to see those results, and how we would go about actually trying to deliver that.
Yeah, tougher now with all the paid advertising you see on Google. The first page is much smaller now that you have the paid advertising. So, I don't know if people evaluate that when they look at it, whether they're looking for the truest organic result, or they're looking for, whatever shows up first. I just don't know, in general, if there's an understanding of what those listings are on Google search.
Yeah, I mean, it's an important topic because that stuff obviously has changed significantly over the past couple of years. Google, which was always kind of like the bastion of, organic, we're not going to mess with anything, the best is going to rise to the top. I mean, they don't prioritize their own websites. You'll see even, within Google, different programs and platforms. I mean, Gmail, for example, has to SEO optimize the Gmail landing page because it's treated exactly the same in the Google index as any other website is. And so it was a big move for them to, basically on a mobile device now, if you do a Google search, primarily for most searches, you're only seeing paid ads on the initial load of that screen until you start scrolling down. And that was never the case, right? They always had the right-hand side results, and you had a couple, 2 on the top, I think it was like 10 on the right-hand side, and a couple more at the bottom.
Right.
And now they've eliminated all those right-hand results, and it's 4 or so on the top now, and So it's a big deal, and it really kind of plays to what all of these digital, really advertising companies. I mean, Facebook is an advertising company,
Right.
Twitter, all social media companies are advertising companies, and the fact that you know, their users want a free service, but at some point somebody's got to pay the bills
Right.
for those large companies, and the only way that they can do that is through advertising, through searching or serving ads, and doing it in a place that's going to get people to actually click on those ads
Sure.
where they get paid. So from an SEO standpoint, one of my first recommendation, or not even one of them, it is my first recommendation for anybody that wants to do an SEO campaign, is to ask them if they're already doing a paid search campaign. And if not, that's step number one, is let's put a budget together, because there's just no getting around it now.
Right.
You can
And
be the number one organic result, but you're still going to be the fifth result on that page unless you start paying for something.
paying more than everybody else.
Well, and that's a we'll get a little off topic here, because we're not really talking about AdWords, but that's kind of a misnomer too, is that you don't actually have to be paying more than everybody else.
Okay.
And one of the things that we do when we work on digital ad campaigns, is to try to get you the highest number of impressions, right? An impression is, your ad actually showed to a user, at the lowest possible cost, or the highest number of clicks at the lowest possible cost, really. And part of that goes into knowing the AdWords algorithm and how they kind of make a determination on what ad they're going to show versus another one. And it's not a straight auction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't quite understand. And I guess it's important on this topic of SEO, because they really do function similarly to the way that Google's organic engine works, in that Google's entire purpose and goal is to serve the best possible result for the user, because ultimately they might say, yeah, we might make $1 more if we serve this ad for this company that's willing to pay $1 more, but if the user's not going to click on that, we don't make anything. And if they click on it and they don't find what they're looking for, they're less likely to come back to Google and run another search, or to click on another ad the next time around. So a big part of their paid algorithm is actually matching the most relevant search results, and then using what you're willing to pay as a ranking factor in where you're going to show up there. But you don't actually have to be the highest bidder to be the number one result, because if your ad copy exactly matches what that user's searching for, if the landing page that you're driving that person to exactly matches what they're searching for, and then once they get there, because everybody's got Google Analytics installed on their website, Google knows how long they actually spent on your website. So once they get there, if they spend enough time there, they take an action, they achieve some sort of a conversion, that's a signal to Google that they served a good result and that you're worth serving again. And if you get somebody that clicks on that and they come right back to that same search results page 2 seconds later, because immediately they realize that your site wasn't what they were looking for, it doesn't matter how much you're willing to pay, they're not going to serve that result anymore.
Sure.
And so the organic engine works similarly to that too. It's all about how do you actually ensure that, well, from Google's standpoint, how do we ensure that we're going to serve a result that's going to deliver an answer to the question somebody was looking for, or deliver something that's relevant, the most relevant to what they're looking for. And their ability to do that better than any other search engine that's ever existed is why they are the monster that they are. It's why when we talk about SEO, we really only ever talk about Google, because everybody else really is trying to emulate Google and the success that they have and the search results that they're able to serve. So we always, unless your budget is massive from a small business standpoint, usually it's not enough to even do everything that we can do to optimize you for Google. So that's where we always start, is let's make sure that you're showing up where you need to on that platform.
Yeah, that was actually my next question. Other search engines. I mean, Um, Other people, use search engines, but I don't know what the statistics are, but I assume, Google is far and most the leader.
Yeah, I mean low, but not non-existent.
Mhm.
I would say just rough number off of traffic numbers that we see, Google probably drives 80 to 90% of the traffic that goes to, from a search standpoint, that goes
Okay.
to most of the websites that we deal with. Whether or not the usage on those is different. I mean, you have other engines that aren't just search engines. They're kind of news portals and, that kind of stuff. I mean, that was Yahoo forever was, more of a news portal than just a straight search engine.
Sure.
And some people like that and want that. And so they might spend a little more time on those than the numbers that we see as far as driving traffic back to the sites that we're talking about. But for the most part, I mean, unless your budget is massive, where you're probably not listening to this podcast,
Right. Yeah.
then, focus on Google, get Google right. And, if you feel like at that point you've maximized that, then you can start looking somewhere else.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean, I would always make sure your listings, your business listings are up to date in Bing and, just because that can't hurt.
Yeah.
And it's quick and easy enough to do and deal with. But beyond that, it's not worth optimizing specifically to say, well, how am I going to get my Bing ranking higher when you're not even showing up where you want to show up on Google?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I get your point about the big companies. The question. Most of the clients that I deal with, not most of them, but a few, don't even know the difference between a search engine and a web browser.
Well, most of them use them interchangeably.
Right.
And we see it all the time, right? Where I get somebody, I give them a URL to go to.
Right.
And the first thing they do is just pop it in Google.
Right.
Because they don't really know the difference. They don't know that that's a URL. You don't have to search for it. And we see problems with that come up where, I say, okay, well, did you go to that URL that I told you to go to? Yeah, I'm here, but I don't see what you're telling me I should be seeing. Well, what do you see? Well, I see, this, and they're reading a search results page, and I'm like, well, no, you didn't go. You searched for the domain name. You didn't actually go to the URL that I told you to go to.
Uh-huh.
So there definitely is a lack of understanding there. But that's also one of the reasons I think why a lot of the other search engines still and traditionally have always had the remaining market share that they have, because somebody ends up with that, either by default, because they downloaded Firefox, and Firefox is kind of at war with Google, with Chrome, and whatever. So I believe the default search engine in Firefox is Bing. So, and they just don't know enough to change it, and they type their searches into their address bar and they get the results, and that's it. And that they're not going to bother going to Google first and dealing with that. Or a lot of people have spyware or adware, stuff that drops, search bars on their browsers and whatever that just directs them to wherever they want to direct them to. But yeah, I mean, that's always an interesting topic of conversation when it comes up.
Right. Now I have a thing where if ads pop up, if I do a search and then I have paid advertising, I always look for the organic results, feeling that that's more, naturally relevant to what I'm looking for. But by what you're telling me now, it may not be. I also do it because years ago, they said that the person had to pay when you clicked on the paid advertising, and I figured I'd save them a little money by looking for them in their organic search results.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I do. I always kind of do that, and although I own stock in Google, so now I just click on all the ads. But no, but I mean, I kind of do the same thing where most people pay for their branded keywords. So when it's their ad and then right underneath is their organic, I mean, I'm not gonna make them pay for that. But
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you have that that mentality I think is less prevalent now, especially that advertising is more visible and harder to ignore on those.
Right.
But and I don't know exactly the statistics change over the years, but I remember when I used to quote those statistics to customers or or prospective customers, that used to throw that out when I would say, look, you have to be doing some search advertising. And then, well, I don't click on any of those. I would skip past them. I don't feel like anybody clicks on them, which is the worst argument in the world, by the way, because I don't care. You might not.
Everybody doesn't do what you do.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean nobody is.
Right.
And that was, and from a majority standpoint, they were right. The majority of people didn't click on ads. It was something like 40%, did and 60% don't. But my response to that was, yes, you're right. You don't, and most people don't, but 40% of people do. And are you willing to just tell those 40%, I don't care about you. I'm not going to worry about trying to get your business. I mean, that's a huge number still.
Sure.
I think that's changed a lot, but those used to be the statistics. Whatever they are now, if somebody knows them off the top of their head or wants to research them and send them back to us, we can update the show notes on the website. But messengers.blog, by the way, in case we haven't plugged that lately. But yeah, so I think that concern is it's valid to think about. But to your point, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting a better result. And my take on that always, too, was you also, when you're looking at somebody that's willing to pay to put their name in front of you, could be, especially if you're looking to make a purchase or you're looking for, something that's going to cost you some money and not just an article or, some information. Somebody that has an ad budget, there's something to be said for, at least some
relevance,
reputability, kind of lends a little credibility to, to the fact that they're willing to spend money and able to spend money to get in front of you.
Right.
Whether that's right or, the right way to look at it, I don't know, but that's something, a way that I've always kind of perceived it.
Right. I recently met with a client. It was an assisted living facility, and they kind of professed to be doing a lot of their SEO on their own, and they were complaining about the cost of keywords. What they said every time they tried to, purchase clicks for assisted living, that the price for those keywords was high. I mean, in general, that's part of what you have to determine and what you're spending, I assume, are the words that you want to focus on in searches.
And that was from an SEO standpoint or from a paid
SEO?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would come down to how whoever's doing your SEO is pricing what they're doing for you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, because you're not really buying keywords.
Right.
Right? You're going to pay somebody to try to optimize your site for keywords or specific searches. Really our goal on that, we have for example, we have a lot of clients that are contractors. Right. Or just generally in the trade industry, we do a lot of work in the landscaping industry and stuff like that. And, every one of them comes in and, when somebody searches for general contractor, I want to be the first result. Well, you're kind of competing against a lot, like
very general keyword.
Yeah, and not only are you competing against other general contractors, but you're competing against anybody that's ever written an article about a general contractor or, how to become a general contractor or online courses and classes about being a general all that kind of stuff. That when you are that narrow or that broad really in what you want to target, your competition is just, it's going to blow you out of the water. There's no way that as a local general contractor, you're going to have the kind of budget that it's going to take to be the number one organic result, or really even on the first page in the organic results in that. Right. That being said, local search has is kind of like the first major revolution in the search industry since Google really came around, and it's something that they've been consistently trying to get better at and better at and better at over the years. But serving a local search result when it's warranted is something that they've been working on ad nauseum, and it's really gotten a lot better. And from their standpoint, it's a difficult technical challenge, right? That to know if I'm searching for construction companies, for an automated system to know whether or not I want a local construction company that's going to work on my house, or I want, I work for a developer and I'm researching, massive commercial construction companies in New York City, or, I just want some general information about what a construction company is, or, things like that.
Right.
It's a tough technical challenge to really try to actually figure that out. And Google's gotten significantly better at it. And it's really kind of changed the game in terms of the ability for smaller businesses to be able to then actually show up for those searches.
Right.
Step one is a Google My Business listing, making sure that that's accurate, up to date. It's got your services that you offer, and all your information is there and available. And that your address is there, because that's how they're going to kind of match where you're located versus where somebody's searching from, and whether or not you should show up there.
That seems like a fairly simple way to help with your search engine optimization. Just
Crazy
listings
simple,
and
the lack of awareness amongst small businesses as far as how easy that is to do, and how much of a positive effect it has on where you show up on somebody's result. I mean, hell, a lot of people now search in Google Maps for stuff that's near them, stuff that they're looking for in a search result.
How about uploading photos to the site too, to your listing? I'm asking because probably about a year ago, I took a photo of a marina, and it was a nice sunset shot. And I just shared it on Google on their listing, on their Google listing, Google Images, and I got an email about a month ago that said that 100,000 people had looked at it already in a year.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was their marina, if they did that more often, it would help them. I mean, people just doing image searches take them to their marina, or
keeping anything updated helps.
Okay.
Activity, Google seems to reward. Certainly from content of your website. I always tell people, all things being equal, right? If you and a competitor have the exact same website, the same exact content, and as far as Google's concerned, you're dead even in who they should show, as the number one result for any particular search. All of those things being completely equal, the site that was updated most recently is gonna win.
Right.
So they do take that into account. So I would say, on your Google listing, if that's what specifically what you're asking about, yes, it would matter. On the other side of things, since Google killed off Google Plus, which we're not going to get into that, but they've also kind of reimagined their the My Business platform, and are almost kind of integrating that into search results as kind of not really a social media, but like a content publishing platform, I guess. It's kind of it's not social in nature. It's not, there's not a lot of the interactions, but you can post updates and new products and services and images and things like that. And it certainly can't hurt to be active in, in using those products and those platforms. Ads is kind of another thing that you got to do, and another, platform you need to be active in.
Right.
And it's still pretty new. So if you're using social media publishing tools and things like that, they don't really integrate, at least as far as I know right now, as of the date of this recording. And again, if anybody out there knows of ones that do, please let us know, and we'll try to update that. But it can't hurt.
Sure.
I certainly would do it.
Sure. So what would you say, probably is the most important way
Content
to help you? Content on your website.
Content is king.
And
Content's
the way it's
everything.
presented, I guess.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, if somebody's searching for something and that content that they're looking for doesn't exist on your website's not going to show up for that search result. So we did an episode a couple weeks ago about content marketing, right? And whether or not it's something that you should be doing. And one of the things that we said is, yes, if you're able to really keep up with it and dedicate the kind of time and effort to it that it requires, yes, absolutely. And one of the reasons for that was search optimization and the huge impact that can have on your organic search results. The flip side of that is SEO across the board is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And that's one of the things we need to always kind of coach our customers through is, if you want immediate results, that's why we pay for advertising. If you're willing to stick it out, when we first started publishing content on our blog, on our website, it was 2 years. 2 years before that really showed any kind of a return that was even remotely commensurate with the amount of time and effort that it took to write that content, publish it, and keep up with it, and share it, and everything else that kind of goes with that. But when it did hit, it hit in a big way, and it's really had a huge impact on our search results, because now the content's there when people are searching for whatever, that's related to what we do. One of the most trafficked pages on our website is an article about the difference between web printing and sheet fed printing. And it was one of those things that, it just had kind of come up, and we deal with that question with customers a lot when we get work that's not right for us, because it really should be going on a web press, and whatever the reason was, we always had to kind of explain why that was and what the differences were. So we said, well, let's write an article, and it'll be easy to kind of point people to that, and not have to explain it over and over again every time. And for whatever reason, that seems to be a hugely popular topic,
right.
Where that is like the most trafficked page on our website, day in and day out, week in and week out, for like 2 years. It's crazy. I had no idea that would be something that was that important.
I do get that question fairly often.
Yeah. And because it's relevant to what we do, right? It has, sheet fed printing, printing, all that kind of stuff are in that article all over the place. Those keywords then are ranked by Google as being, because we get then that much traffic and people are finding what they want, they see us as kind of an authority on the subject of printing. And so when people are looking for that and they're looking for printing, they say, oh, this is who we want to serve. This is the result we're going to serve to our users. So, you kind of never know what can be the catalyst for, really turning that from, somebody in Sheboygan is looking for web printing and they come across that article. It doesn't have any value to us. There's no benefit to them going on, reading about that, and and saying, all right, well, this is the kind of printer I'm looking for, blah blah blah. But the fact that they got to that article, read it, spent the time on the site, found what they were looking for, then is a ranking signal to Google so that when somebody that is a potential customer of ours that's searching for something similar, it's more likely then that we're going to be a top result than one of our competitors.
Yeah, I deal with that a lot on incoming phone calls. Really now, because we're getting so many calls from our website, the first question I ask is, how did you hear about us? And if they say in a Google search, I say, where are you located? Because we're getting calls from people in California, Utah, and they want quotes on what really should be a local printing job for them, because
it's going to cost more to ship it than it's
shipping
going to be.
Costs on it, right, are going to kill it. So
yeah, for sure. That. So I always, content. If you're,
right.
You got to focus on anything. If you're just getting started, that is absolutely number one, the thing that's going to have the highest possible impact. From there, there's a lot of SEOs out there that, everybody's got their top 10 ways to, improve SEO or build backlinks and, all this kind of stuff. But for most businesses, just having the content on your site is enough to achieve the results that you want and need to achieve. After that, having a site that's built properly, again, most people that are listening to this probably aren't going to get too deep into what the code on their website actually looks like. But Google is going to pay attention to the structure of the markup that you're serving, and if it's convoluted and really it's a computer that needs to be able to understand what's on that page, and so our approach to that is always as simple as possible. For one H1 tag on a page that is a clear title for what the content on the page is, what that page is about, a clear page title, a clear meta description, which, meta, a lot of people used to be like the meta keywords tag and stuff like that. And search engines have long since gotten past really valuing anything that's in there. It can't hurt if it's relevant and you want to include that stuff, but for the most part, it's not going to make any difference. But your meta description tag is the description that a search engine is going to show when they show your search result. And the page title is the title of the page that they're going to show. So those are important. They're important. Take a look if you are building those. Google, like the maximum characters that Google will actually show in a title or a description, because you want to make sure that you pack all your keywords and what the page is about under that number of characters. But be clear, you're not doing a lot of keyword packing in those for the most part. They want to know that the page title matches your H1 tag, which is relevant to the actual content that's on that page. And don't try to over optimize and jam too many keywords in there, because at some point, I think it's like 100 repetition, or I think there's like 100 links on a page or something like that is when you start actually getting penalized. And then if you start over repeating and it doesn't sound like natural language, you're going to get penalized for that kind of stuff. So for the most part, focus on the user. As long as you are delivering something that is going to be of value to the user, Google's entire, we talked about it earlier, that their entire business model is predicated on serving the best possible result for their user. So they're always going to continue to optimize their algorithm to serve pages that are better designed for a user experience. So as long as you're focused on the user experience, you don't have to worry about, well, Google changed their algorithm and now we went from page 1 to page 200 because we were kind of taking advantage of some tricks that we really probably shouldn't have been, and they found it out, fixed the problem, and now, here we go.
Sure.
It's like the Office Space. We fixed the bug.
Yes.
Hey, what's up, YouTube? Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click the links for more from the Messengers and visit us at messengers.blog for links to our social and more exclusive content from the Messengers. Thanks.